Thank you for joining us for Community Link. I'm Caroline Mays. In his new novel, The Edge of Motherland, Indianapolis author Michael Leppert explores friendship, identity, and the search for common ground during one of the most challenging periods in our nation's recent history. Michael Leppert joins us today to talk about his new book. Welcome. So good to see you. Been a dear friend for a long time. I've known you as a professor and as a lobbyist. I had no idea you were an author as well.
Well, now you do.
Now I do, and so do our viewers. So tell us about Edge of Motherland, and what's the story in the middle of it?
The story comes from, the inspiration for the book came from during the pandemic, in the early months of the pandemic in 2020. I discovered that there wasn't a lot of storytelling from the last pandemic during the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918 to 1920, and that would have been very helpful while we were struggling through the early months of COVID-19. And so I committed at that time that I was going to document and keep what I could to put out a story so that we wouldn't have that dearth of storytelling, not just statistical gatherings and all that sort of stuff, but actual storytelling of how the moment felt if we ever face this kind of thing in the future.
So you chose the pandemic, but there's more to this book than that. There's a focus on racial tensions. Talk about that. Why that focus?
We went very deep into the pandemic when the George Floyd incident occurred, and the things that were going on in lots of cities, and a lot of people will forget. We had our own controversy with a police shooting a couple of weeks before George Floyd, and so that was another cloud that was added to an already cloudy moment in our history, and it forced a lot of discussion about what community and belonging and how we deal with those kinds of challenges can shape our futures. And so that was one of the reasons why that component was part of the storytelling. And then there was there will obviously be a musical connection in this story, and Indianapolis's rich history in jazz becomes a component of the moment. Yeah.
Tell us about the characters in the book. Who are they? Why did you choose these particular characters?
Well, I had people in Indianapolis that reminded me of these two characters. I'm not gonna break them out right now, but I'm going to soon. The main character is a young man named Elvin Jones Girton, and EJ is what he goes by in Edge, and that's where the book comes from. He is a young, introverted genius type, and he's working for a technology company here in Indianapolis, and is discovered by an extroverted spin doctor that's about 40 years old who has an interest in his musical talent, and that begins right when the lockdowns start, and these two find themselves in lockdown together, and their musical passions together is what gets them through the early months of the lockdown stage of COVID.
As we know in real life, there are differences that people have, and what we hope is they'll find common ground. Talk about the differences with these young men and what you hope comes out of this book and the story that you're telling.
Yeah, what I've found in the two books that I've published and the one that I'm writing right now is that I'm drawn to unusual friendships, and unusual friendships tend to grow out of a single point of connection. These two, it started with music, and then through the crisis that we were all going through, they began to see the addressing of that crisis through each other's eyes. And that's part of it. That's the main journey of the story is I've got this new friend and he's struggling with this component, and it's bothering me, it's hurting me, his pain, and so that's sort of the track of the story. How can we understand things better just by trying to live a life full of empathy and humility for all the things surrounding us? And these two are very, very different except for that one point of connection, and they become the best of friends afterward.
Love that. You said unusual friendships, and it's unfortunate that because of race that we have to have, or that we don't have to have, but we do have those unusual friendships. What do you hope people take away from The Edge of Motherland?
Well, it was my position from the jump of COVID that our number one combatant was the sense of community that we either had or could have to fight off the virus and the death and all the things that surrounded that time, and the places that had the stronger sense of community that lived in empathy for everyone around them tended to perform better, and the holes in that concern for each other was the biggest problem that we had. during that time. And so I want people to read this book so that they can be prepared to live their life, to grow belonging and to grow community, because when these things happen, those are usually the things, the powerful things that get us through those moments.
Thank you for raising and addressing this issue, and we hope that people will go to wishtv.com to see where to get your book, which just launched this month.
That's
Congratulations,
right. That's right.
Michael.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this week's Community Link. To share this story or learn more, head to wishtv.com. We'll see you next week.